Hey, this is Liz. In the past, I have sort of transcribed really good sessions that I had with my clients, and I called them Living with ADHD. And I would post them as like a written post. But I gotta tell you, the transcribing is really difficult. It takes me forever. So I thought maybe I would just record my thoughts on the session and post it this way and see if it helps people get some perspective about what I do, what I like to do, and how I like to work with clients. Okay, so today I talked to someone named Amy, and we had never talked before. It was the first time. And I always ask people, just tell me your story first. So she gave me her basic details: two children, young children, not even kindergarten age yet. She stays home, but she also runs her own business, which was a fascinating business. I don't want to go into it because I don't want to give away any details of her identity, but it's kind of like a two-pronged business. And when she was explaining it, I was like, oh my God, that's a lot. And you stay home with your kids. So I asked her, what led up to deciding to book an appointment with me. And she told me that she's feeling more and more lately out of control. Like, with her kids, when she feels triggered, she doesn't know how to handle it. And she feels like she knows what she wants to do, but most of the time it ends up in her getting really frustrated and like shouting or slamming doors or doing something that she just isn't proud of in her parenting behavior. And she's scheduled for her full ADHD diagnosis soon, but she's pretty sure, just based on family history, that that's what she has going on. So I basically said, what I say to everybody is, well, if ADHD, wasn't a real thing, if it was easy and it was just all in our heads, right? There wouldn't be a conference every year with thousands of people, and there wouldn't be all these websites and videos and all that kind of stuff. And I said, so what do you think is really primarily tripping you up right now? And she said, it's the emotional stuff, which is 90% of the time. Even if someone gives me some sort of external thing, like I'm doing bad at work, almost always, if you just ask why and you work backwards, it comes down to emotional regulation. So I spent a little bit of time explaining to her, the relationship between our executive function and emotional management, and how sometimes, because of our wiring, we are not well equipped to deal with life. I mean, we all have things. We all have a history. We all have the present, and we all have ADHD. And sometimes, because of the way we are wired, the stuff of life just isn't integrated as well for all of us. And we don't manage all of it as well as we would like. But what's really great is once we're aware, and our level of awareness about ADHD and how it's impacting us, once we're there, it's like, oh, so there are things I can do. And so she and I had that discussion, and it was just awesome. And like, I think for her, it was a really great sort of light bulb moment, So I did a little education stuff, and then I asked her, this is a question I love to ask people: what do you want more of in your life? And she started to tell me about her work. And I said, so how can we create more of that feeling? Because obviously, when you talk about your work, you get all excited and you have all this energy and all this motivation. How can we create more? She talked some more, and she said, I need time to do my work, to do the paperwork aspect of it. And I said, okay, how do we get more time? And she said, I have to ask. And I was like, yeah. And what will happen when you ask? And she said, I think my husband will be in agreement that I should do it just to grow my business. And, it's just so funny when I ask, okay, so what do we do? What do you think? What comes next? She can answer the questions. She just needed me to ask her the questions, but she knew the answers. And I love that. Like, just going, okay, what next? And what else? And why? And I love that. And we came up with, one thing at the end of our conversation that we were going to do about her business. And then I said, what else do you want more of in your life? And she said, I want to feel more in control with my kids, because that's really been upsetting to me. And I said, okay. I said, so tell me an example. She gave me an example of a recent meltdown in her house that she had along with her child. And I said, so what was going on? Like, what led up to it? And what were you thinking? And she talked. And I think as she talked, she started to realize that, she had to name it, that she was feeling like a failure because she couldn't calm her child. And she was feeling frustrated because she felt like she tried everything she could think of. And we've all been there, moms. We've all been there. But she had to name it, right, before she could claim it. So once she was able to say the feelings, the emotions were frustration, a little bit of anger, a little bit of feeling like a failure, because we all want to comfort our child. And when we can't, we don't know what to do. When she got there, I was like, okay, so what would you do? If you could go back and do it all over again, what would be the right reaction? Instead of getting upset, slamming that door, what would have been the reaction? And she thought about it, and she has an education in child development. So she said, well, I probably should have calmed myself. And I said, okay, what are the calming strategies that you like to use? And she thought about it, and she came up with some. I gave her one idea because she needed some little idea to do. We talked about the power of the pause and calming ourselves, and how, actually it's safer to give yourself a pause than to push yourself to keep engaging when you're getting to that point of frustration. So we talked for an hour, and we talked about what happens when we start to become aware of the patterns in our lives, and when we don't know how to take the pause, and we don't know how to ask for what we need. And so what I like to do with people is I like to come up with one or two things, like action items, doable things that we can do. And we chatted, and we came up with two. I told her first, and she agreed to it, that because her work really lights her up and it makes her feel more intrinsic motivation, we're going to ask if she can have a couple of hours to herself after her husband gets home from work once a week. She can go down the street to the coffee shop, get a little work done, because when she's in the state of mind of, I've fed myself, I've fed my soul, then she can go home, and her patience and her ability to cope and to pause when she needs to is better, right? Because she's taken just like those couple of hours to feed what she needs inside. The second thing we decided we would do is we were going to practice that pause. So later today, if her kids are really pushing her buttons, which all kids do, she's going to try to pause. And we have a couple tools in place for her to try for her pause. But I thought today was a good example of what I like to do, because I think these are really important questions. If it were easy, we'd all be doing it. So what makes it so hard? What's holding us back? What are the things we want to see more of in our life? Do you want to see more more relational interaction with the people in your life? Do you want to see more movement in your career? Do you want to see yourself get physically fit? Whatever you want to see more of. These are like questions that I love talking to people about. And then why aren't we doing it? Like, what are the blocks there besides executive function? What are the blocks? So anyway, it was just a really fun session, and this was much faster than me trying to type it up. So if you have any other questions about what I do, the services I provide, send me an email, healthyadhd@gmail.com. I love one-on-one meetings. It's my life. It's what I do. So you come up with two action items for today that you can do that somehow serve you, somehow help you get more out of what you want in life. Have a great day.